friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tori and today I am so excited to talk to you guys about what is probably going to end up as one of my favorite indie fantasy reads of the year. Y'all, we need to talk about this book, okay? We need to talk about this book. So recently, I read fellow Spiffbo competitor Jacquelyn Hagen's debut fantasy novel, The Wickwire Watch, which is book 1 in the Riverfall Chronicles. This kind of got put on my radar sort of in a roundabout way because I was going to do my sample Spiffbo video wherein I read the first chapters of 6 different Spiffbo books that are entered in the competition. And again, if you don't know what Spiffbo is, it stands for the Self-Published Fantasy Blog Off, run by Mark Lawrence. It's a competition where we go from 300 indie fantasy books down to 1 winner over a span of about 10 months. So I had my TBR for Spiffbo, and my good friend Andrew Wizard, who I will link down in the description box below, go check out his channel, said, "Hey Tori, have you heard of the Wickwire Watch? You should put that on your TBR for this sample Spiffbo video that we're doing." And I said, okay, cool. I went and I read the synopsis and I thought, wow, like, okay, yeah, this sounds really interesting. I like that it's giving me something a little bit different from the normal genre that I read in, and this sounds like it's going to be a great time. Little did I know, I have to give Andrew a thank you here because I would not have probably gotten to this book as quickly without his suggestion, and I am so glad that I did. So the best way that I know how to quickly describe this book is if you take Oliver Twist and that kind of Charles Dickens roguish young protagonist with a massive heart and that kind of Dickensian sort of story tone and throw it in a blender with Howl's Moving Castle. Okay? Like, I don't know how good of an image that's going to give you guys, but honestly, that's the first 2 things that came to mind when I thought about how I was going to describe this book. We have Inkwell Featherfield, who is a young runaway protagonist who's walking in the same footsteps as some massive, very best beloved characters like Huckleberry Finn and the Artful Dodger, and even Lock the Mora I would put into that category. So the way that Jacquelyn kind of elevator pitched this book when we did our interview was that Inkwell Featherfield is a young boy who is finding himself at the mercy of these dark spirits that he didn't even know existed. And the only people that can help him or protect him is a group of wanted fugitives. Now that is an excellent way to elevator pitch this book, but it does so little to encompass the heart of this story. And you guys know that I love my fantasy books to have a massive helping of heart and vulnerability and motley crew and found family and interesting magic and great characterization, and I found all of that in this book. Inkwell is such a excellent representation of a young protagonist. There was no point during the story where I felt like he was an inauthentic character. He had that old soul persona while still hanging on to the flaws and impulsiveness that exist within childhood as he's running away from his past and he's trying to make sense of all of these insane things that he's suddenly realizing exist around him and coming to terms with being at the mercy of people that he believes are very dangerous. So the motley crew and found family aspect of this story comes in when we meet the group of people that Inkwell is being sheltered by. And we are also introduced to the magic system through these people. And it is such a fantastic little mashup of people. It's wonderful. We have the brooding, mysterious kind of gatekeeper of this group. We have a pair of opera singing sisters. We have a very jolly drunk who runs the vineyard. We have a couple, kind of middle-aged couple who really are going through some very serious struggles together, and one of which is dealing with some pretty severe mental health issues. And there's a couple other younger characters that Inkwell meets during the course of all of this, and it just comes together to create this really intricate, fun, eclectic group of characters that we get to know throughout the story. Now, on the opposite end, we're also shown the perspectives of some characters that are on the other side of the wanted fugitive situation, the characters who are on the hunt for these fugitives and determined to bring them to justice at any cost. And there's definitely a little bit of almost a Javert from Les Miserables kind of feel to it. And it definitely gives off the vibe of a witch hunt, for sure, which was a little difficult to read in some spots, because that's something that I know, for me at least, can be incredibly uncomfortable to read. And I thought that Jacquelyn set up all of the politics and the opposition between the different sides of characters very, very well. Now, in terms of the plot, this does move along at a pretty good pace. I did think during like the early middle stage of the book that it did slow down quite a bit into almost this sort of slice of life as we get to know the environment and the group of characters that Inkwell has come to live with. And that's something that I think is more of a me thing than anything else, because if I'm really intrigued and everything's moving along really quickly, and then all of a sudden everything kind of slows down and we get this really extended moment of normalcy, it's a challenge for me, and that's a good thing. It was really interesting how we went back and forth from this very life or death situation into kind of a little bit of a respite in the village that Inkwell is staying in. Overall, the plot is really good. I thought that the reveals and the expansion of the magic system, especially towards the end of the book, is a fantastic setup for book 2. I could not wait to order the second book copy when I finished this one. I went ahead and bought the Spider Key right away after I finished this book. And I just think that there's so much in this story that's very fresh. It's bringing in a lot of author influences that I think are creating an incredibly unique and interesting world. I love that there's that kind of Charles Dickens Romantics and Victorians almost thread to it. When it comes to writing style, I think that this book is incredibly well done. It's got a very smooth, easy writing style. It uses a lot of really beautiful and vibrant imagery without being over the top. I could not recommend this book more highly to anyone who enjoys especially young protagonists with a bit of mystery entwined with a kind of a dark supernatural feel when it comes to the spirits and other realms, and a magic system that, as Jacquelyn put it, is very spiritual and emotionally based. It's just, there's so many pieces, and every time I thought I was getting really settled into what the story was, she'd peel back another layer, and I was like, oh, and there's that too. Okay. The characters also are very flawed, which I appreciated. There's so many different facets to them, and while certain characters may act in heroic ways or have heroic tendencies, they're all still incredibly deeply flawed and make mistakes. And again, that is something that I really appreciated about this. I think this is a book that will be enjoyed by a lot of different readers within the fantasy community for a plethora of reasons. And I know that I'm very excited to see where Inkwell and the crew go next and what happens. I know that the magic system is going to be expanding even more. Jacquelyn did mention in the interview that this is going to be a 7-book series, which makes me excited, because as soon as I find a series that I really enjoy with characters that I want to know more about, give me all the books. So, very excited to delve into that. I think book 3, which is Blue Flames, is coming out on August 1st, 2023, so very soon, but you still have time to catch up if you want to see what the series is all about. Basically, my overview for this book is go get it, put it on your TBR and check it out, because I think that it's a very fresh, genre-blending book with an incredibly lovable, roguish young protagonist and a great motley crew of characters and an intriguing magic system and political system. So what more could you ask for? Anyways, you guys, I hope you are having a fantastic week. I hope you are reading 5-star reads, and I will see you in the next video.